Salam. Hi there. I and my buddy Joe English are sending our regards. Let me ask Joe. Joe, what should we do today with artificial intelligence, Chat GPT? You think so? Okay. Joe suggests that we use Chat GPT, artificial intelligence, to help us with the novel Great Expectations by Charles Dickens. يعني جو بيقترح ان احنا نستخدم الذكاء الاصطناعي اللي هو تشات جي بي تي ان هو يساعدنا في قصة المكررة على طلاب ثالثة ثانوي اللي هي Great Expectations امال عظيمه. يعني جاوب معانا اسئله التفكير النقدي اللي هي Critical Thinking Questions واسئله عن الشخصيات العامة في القصة الى اخره. فاحنا كده هنحاول نكلم الاي اي او الذكاء الاصطناعي ونناقش مع بعض اشياء خاصه بهذه القصه الرائعه. فنشوف مع بعض. Hi, how are you today?
Hello, I'm doing well. Thank you. How about you?
Yeah, I'm great. Thank you. I want you to help me with one of the novels written by Charles Dickens, Great Expectations. Can you help me with that, please?
Of course. I'd be happy to help you with any questions you have about Great Expectations by Charles Dickens. What specifically would you like to know?
Okay, let us start with the main characters in that novel. Can you tell me a little bit about Bib, Philip Birib?
It sounds like you're referring to Pip, whose full name is Philip Pirrip. Pip is the protagonist of Great Expectations. He starts as an orphan raised by his sister and her husband, Joe Gargery. Pip dreams of becoming a gentleman to win the love of Estella, a girl raised by Miss Havisham. Throughout the story, Pip learns about the complexities of social class and personal identity.
Fantastic. Okay, so can you tell me a quick note on Estella, the one raised by Miss Havisham?
Certainly. Estella is the ward of Miss Havisham in Great Expectations. Raised to be cold and unfeeling, she is taught by Miss Havisham to break men's hearts as revenge for the pain Miss Havisham endured in her own past. Estella is beautiful and distant, which captivates Pip, but she treats him with indifference and disdain. Her character evolves as she grapples with her upbringing and its effects on her own emotions and relationships.
Okay, great. So can you tell me some more on Miss Havisham herself?
Miss Havisham is a wealthy, eccentric spinster who lives in Satis House in Great Expectations. She was jilted on her wedding day many years ago, and as a result, she remains stuck in time, still wearing her wedding dress and keeping her mansion as it was on that fateful day. Miss Havisham adopts Estella and raises her to be cold-hearted towards men, using her as a tool for revenge against the male gender. Throughout the novel, Miss Havisham struggles with her bitterness and the consequences of her past actions, ultimately seeking redemption and forgiveness. Her character symbolizes the destructive power of obsession and the potential for healing and growth.
Fantastic. Okay, can you tell me a little bit more on Mr. Joe Gargery?
Certainly. Joe Gargery is Pip's brother-in-law and a blacksmith in Great Expectations. He is married to Pip's older sister, Mrs. Joe Gargery. Joe is known for his kind and gentle nature, contrasting sharply with his wife's harshness. He acts as a father figure to Pip, treating him with love and respect despite Pip's sister's mistreatment of him. Joe embodies moral integrity and simple goodness throughout the novel, serving as a contrast to the ambitious and sometimes morally compromised characters like Pip.
Okay, can you tell me a little bit about Mrs. Joe Gargery?
Certainly, Mrs. Joe Gargery, whose full name is Georgiana Maria Gargery, is Pip's older sister and Joe Gargery's wife in Great Expectations. She is known for her harsh and domineering personality, often referred to as the worst of women. Mrs. Joe raises Pip by hand, meaning she is strict and physically abusive towards him. Despite her tough exterior, she is fiercely protective of Joe and Pip. Later in the story, Mrs. Joe suffers a traumatic attack that leaves her disabled and mute, altering her character significantly. Her presence in the novel highlights themes of abuse, family dynamics, and personal transformation.
Okay, great. So, can you tell me a little bit more on Mr. Jaggers?
Mr. Jaggers is a prominent lawyer in Great Expectations. He is known for his shrewdness, sharp wit, and an unyielding dedication to his clients. Jaggers serves as a solicitor for Pip and various other characters, handling their legal affairs with meticulous attention to detail. Despite his professional success, Jaggers is aloof and mysterious, keeping his personal life separate from his professional dealings. He plays a pivotal role in the novel, particularly in relation to Pip's expectations and the revelations surrounding Pip's benefactor.
Great. So, what about Magwitch Provis? Can you tell me a little bit more about him?
Certainly, Abel Magwitch, also known as Provis in Great Expectations, is a key character in the novel. He is introduced as an escaped convict who encounters Pip in a graveyard at the beginning of the story. Despite his rough exterior and criminal background, Magwitch displays a deep sense of loyalty and gratitude towards Pip. Later in the story, it is revealed that Magwitch is Pip's secret benefactor, having made a fortune in Australia. He supports Pip's transformation into a gentleman, though their connection must be kept secret due to Magwitch's criminal past. Magwitch's character highlights themes of redemption, sacrifice, and the complexities of moral judgment in Dickens' narrative.
Okay, good. So, can you tell me a little bit more about Compeyson?
I believe you're referring to Compeyson. He is a significant character in Great Expectations. Compeyson is a cunning and deceptive individual who plays a pivotal role in the lives of several characters, including Miss Havisham and Magwitch. He is introduced as a charming and manipulative man who conspires with Arthur, Miss Havisham's half-brother, to swindle Miss Havisham out of her fortune. Compeyson's betrayal of Miss Havisham on their wedding day deeply impacts her, shaping her bitter outlook on life and influencing her treatment of Estella. His character underscores themes of deceit, betrayal, and the consequences of greed and manipulation in Dickens' narrative.
Okay, so I have some critical thinking questions now for you. The first question, Beb has mixed feelings towards Estella. Explain.
Pip has mixed feelings towards Estella in Great Expectations. Initially, he is infatuated with her beauty and mystery, drawn to her despite her coldness towards him. He sees her as a symbol of wealth and sophistication, which aligns with his desire to rise above his humble beginnings. However, as the novel progresses, Pip becomes increasingly aware of Estella's manipulation and the emptiness of their relationship. He realizes that Estella's upbringing under Miss Havisham's influence has made her incapable of genuine affection. Despite this awareness, Pip continues to harbor strong feelings for Estella, struggling between his desire for her and the realization that she can never reciprocate his love authentically. This conflict illustrates Pip's emotional growth throughout the story and highlights the complexities of love, social status, and personal identity in Great Expectations.
Okay, Beb at the time felt ashamed of Mr. Joe Gargery. Explain.
Pip, feeling ashamed of Joe Gargery in Great Expectations, reflects a common theme of social class and aspiration in the novel. As Pip begins to desire to rise above his humble origins and become a gentleman, he becomes increasingly aware of Joe's simple and unrefined manners. Pip starts to see Joe's lack of education and social polish as embarrassing, especially when comparing Joe to the sophisticated gentleman he aspires to emulate. This shame is compounded by Pip's growing snobbery and desire to distance himself from his working class roots, despite Joe's unwavering love and loyalty towards him. Ultimately, Pip's feelings of shame towards Joe serve as a poignant commentary on the novel's exploration of social status, ambition, and the moral implications of personal advancement.
Okay, Stella chose to marry Drommel. What was the consequence of that?
Estella's choice to marry Bentley Drummel in Great Expectations leads to tragic consequences. Drummel is cruel and abusive towards Estella, making her life miserable, despite her initial hopes that marriage might bring her some form of happiness or freedom. The marriage highlights the destructive pattern of Estella being trapped in relationships devoid of love or respect, echoing her upbringing under Miss Havisham's influence. Estella's decision to marry Drummel underscores the novel's exploration of the consequences of choices made under societal pressure, manipulation, and misguided expectations.
Okay, another question. Mrs. Joe Gargery was very harsh in dealing with Beb. Explain.
Mrs. Joe Gargery's harsh treatment of Pip in Great Expectations stems from her own frustration and resentment. She raises Pip by hand, meaning she imposes strict discipline and physically punishes him for perceived wrongs. Mrs. Joe's behavior reflects her belief that strict discipline is necessary to raise Pip properly, but it also reveals her own unhappiness and dissatisfaction with her life. Her harshness towards Pip contrasts sharply with Joe Gargery's gentle and loving nature, highlighting the novel's exploration of parental influence, abuse, and the effects of upbringing on a person's character and choices.
Okay, so explain how Compeyson is purely evil.
Compeyson in Great Expectations is depicted as purely evil through his manipulative and deceitful actions. He conspires with Arthur, Miss Havisham's half-brother, to defraud Miss Havisham of her fortune by pretending to love her and then abandoning her on their wedding day. This betrayal causes Miss Havisham immense emotional and psychological pain, shaping her bitter and vengeful personality. Compeyson's actions highlight his lack of empathy or remorse as he continues to exploit others for personal gain without regard for the consequences of his actions. His character serves as a stark contrast to those who show genuine kindness and moral integrity in the novel, reinforcing themes of deception, betrayal, and the corrupting influence of greed.
Okay, although Provost Magwitch did some illegal things, part of his life, but he still has a bright side of his character. Explain.
Absolutely. Despite his criminal past, Abel Magwitch, also known as Provis in Great Expectations, exhibits a complex and multifaceted character with redeeming qualities. He starts as an escaped convict who threatens Pip in the opening chapters, but later reveals himself as Pip's secret benefactor. Magwitch demonstrates fierce loyalty and gratitude towards Pip, whom he regards almost as a son. His determination to make Pip a gentleman stems from his deep affection and desire for Pip to rise above his humble beginnings. Furthermore, Magwitch's love for his daughter, whom he believes to be deceased but is actually Estella, shows his capacity for paternal affection and emotional depth. His actions, including his hard work in Australia to amass wealth for Pip's benefit, reflect a desire for redemption and a second chance in life. Magwitch's character serves to challenge societal judgments and perceptions about criminality, emphasizing the possibility of moral growth and transformation, even in the face of a troubled past.
Okay, so can you tell us the main theme in this novel, Great Expectations by Charles Dickens?
The main theme of Great Expectations by Charles Dickens revolves around social class, ambition, and personal identity. The novel explores how Pip's desire to move up in society as a gentleman affects his relationships, values, and sense of self. It delves into the complexities of social mobility and the moral implications of ambition, contrasting material success with moral integrity. Additionally, Great Expectations addresses themes of guilt, redemption, and the impact of past actions on one's present and future. It examines the consequences of societal expectations and the struggle to reconcile personal desires with external pressures. Ultimately, the novel underscores the importance of self-awareness, compassion, and authenticity in navigating life's challenges and finding true fulfillment.
One last question. So Charles Dickens in Great Expectations says that love is more important than social class. Do you agree?
In Great Expectations, Charles Dickens indeed explores the idea that love and personal connections are more valuable than social class or material wealth. Throughout the novel, characters like Joe Gargery demonstrate that genuine love and kindness hold more intrinsic worth than social status or ambition. Joe's unconditional love for Pip contrasts sharply with Pip's pursuit of wealth and status, ultimately highlighting the importance of compassion and human relationships. However, while Dickens emphasizes the importance of love, he also portrays the harsh realities of Victorian society, where social class often determines one's opportunities and treatment. Pip's journey reflects this tension between love and social advancement, illustrating the complexities of navigating personal desires within a rigid social hierarchy. In essence, while love may be portrayed as more important than social class in Great Expectations, Dickens also acknowledges the societal challenges and moral dilemmas that arise when these ideas conflict.
Thank you so much. If I have more questions, I will get back to you. Appreciate it.
You're very welcome. Feel free to return anytime if you have more questions. Have a wonderful day.
You too. Have a good one. Bye.
Take care. Goodbye.
زي ما احنا شفنا كده يا جماعه بشكل عملي الاي اي او الذكاء الاصطناعي اللي هو زي تشات جي بي تي ممكن يساعدنا جدا في قصه جريت اكسبكتيشنز لطلاب ثالثه ثانوي او اي حد مهتم بقرايه القصه الممتازه ديت طبعا بتاعت الكاتب تشارلز ديكنز. واتكلمنا بالتفصيل عن تحليل الشخصيات الرئيسيه في القصه زي بيب واستيلا وميس هابشم وكومبيسون وماجويتش وغيرها من الشخصيات زي مستر جاجرز وغيره. وبعدين اتكلمنا عن اسئله التفكير النقدي وازاي ان القصه في الاخر الفكره الرئيسيه اللي عايز يقولها لنا تشارلز ديكنز هو ان الحب والمشاعر الصادقه اهم بكتير من الطبقات الاجتماعيه والثروه الماديه الى اخره. وناقشنا بالتفصيل عدد كبير من اسئله التفكير النقدي. وزي ما قلت لكم قبل كده في اي حوار بيحصل ما بينك او ديسكشن يعني وما بين تشات جي بي تي عن طريق مثلا اللي هو السمارت فون او الديسكتوب، لو انت بتتكلم مع البرنامج شفاهة هو هيدي لك تقرير مكتوب عن ذلك، فممكن تطبعه وتعرف تستفيد من هذه الاشياء. فالطلبة قدامها وسيلة كويسة في الاستفادة، ونتمنى التوفيق لجميع الطلاب.